Hello, everyone, and happy Saturday. I hope you guys are having an amazing day and that your week is going good and that you are able to really get involved with this upcoming holiday, this beautiful holiday season. I'm still trying to get this adjusted, trying to see what works for me, guys. What works for me, the one ear or the both ears? I got these stylish earrings on, compliments of my mother, and I want to make sure that I could still, flaunt them. Hi, Coach Play with an I and not a Y, but an I. And that is my husband. He is a nutritionist and fitness trainer, personal trainer, fitness instructor. We have a gym here based in Louisville. If you guys would like to come and work out, get those New Year's, what are they called? New Year goals, milestones started early, definitely do that. So guys, you can also reach us not just in physical, proximity, but also virtually. So wanted to put that out there. Happy Saturday again to everyone. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited because I have an awesome guest who's going to be here with me today. I always say I have an awesome guest because all the guests who come on this show are awesome. So I'm really excited about being able to have this conversation with her. We were going to start right at 6, but I had a little snag, a boo-boo, if you will. One of our children was injured in play with another one of our children. So his brother injured him accidentally as they were playing, and his lip got a little busted. So we, addressed the situation, my husband and I, and now I'm here. So, things happen, life happens. The good thing is that, we didn't have to go to the emergency room or anything like that. He experienced some clotting on the lip, so it stopped bleeding, and we're good. So thank you guys for your patience. All right, let's talk about play therapy. That is going to be our topic today. Play therapy has transformative powers to heal, restore, and restructure the imagination of the reality that we create as a creative community. Play therapy is radical. It's a paradigm shift. If I can say it right. It's a paradigm shift. There we go. From the usual. Play therapy is a powerful tool of advocacy. I'm an activist. Activism. There we go. Education and community. It's just like some of those words that just kind of like snag you and you're like, okay, wait, I got this. So activism, education, and community. It has the uncanny ability to reshape a person's heart while simultaneously renovating an individual's perspective of other individuals from different cultures, ethnicities, and or creeds. We find our humanness and we realize we're all connected. We're all one with play therapy. So it is my great honor today to be able to present to you my guest. My guest comes from West End Women's Collaborative, and her name is Mariel Gardener. And I'm really, really excited about our conversation. I'm actually going to use this tablet, if you will, to let her know that we will be conversating at this hour. I had to let her know that, our conversation was going to be a little bit later because of that snag that took place. Hello, Dorothea. Dorothea is my mother, and she's on here, so I'm grateful that you're able to be on here with me. If you notice, I got those earrings on. I'm rocking it today. Let me go ahead and try to dial her in. Mother's necklace right here. So, got a little something from my mom, a little something on from my grandmother. Hey, Mariel! So I just dialed her in. Now I can put this tablet up, unless I need it later. Isn't technology great? So often we get upset about technology, and we get so nervous about robots and clones and AI, especially if you're from my generation. My generation and up, anything that starts with the 1945, 1996, 1982, 1964, anything in the 19s, we get real nervous about technology. But, it's a good thing to be able to have technology because we're able to have conversations with each other and be able to do so many things, especially virtually. So, Mariel, if you are able to accept my invite, we'll be able to conversate. Let's see here. Sending the invite again. Sometimes these things act a little bit funny, but we'll get it together. So let me talk to you guys about West End Women's Collaborative while we wait for all of the connections to be made. It feels like it's back to dial-up back in the day, right? That's okay. Yes, that's okay. We survived it, didn't we? So West End Women's Collaborative is doing just this. They are encompassing play therapy in such a way in which they are utilizing it as a tool for advocacy, for activism, education, and community. I'm trying to get on. Okay, by chance, are you following my account? I'm pretty sure. I'm definitely following your account. We can always try it from the other account as well if that doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to send the invite again. And hopefully. Yes, it went through. I was like, hopefully this time it goes through. Hey, how are you?
Man, let me take my glasses off to take the glare out of there.
Oh, no problem. I wear glasses too. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am amazing. I am watching this Louisville game. Let me mute it though.
Oh, fun stuff.
Got my Louisville, my lucky Louisville sweatshirt and my Louisville hat. Go Cards.
There you go. And see, I incidentally have on red today. It's so good to see you. For those who don't know, Mariel and I actually went to school together.
We did.
Yes,
We spent
we did.
a year together at the J. Graham Brown School.
We did. Yes, we did. And then I ended up going to the school we shall not speak of. School we shall not name. An all-girls school.
Wow.
Yeah. When I left from J. Graham Brown, I ended up going to Sacred Heart.
Mm-hmm. Well, I knew that it was not a fantastic experience, I take it.
You know, it had its ups and downs. And maybe we'll end up talking about it while we're having our conversation now, because it was a completely different experience when you come from. It wasn't just because you're coming from a place where, you know, J. Graham Brown, for anyone who doesn't know, is very artsy and very creative and allows you to be self-led and really advocates for children to have independence. And it's almost like a homeschool setting because it's K through 12. So it's just like this large-scale homeschool for all different kind of kids to come, and it's very diverse. So you're going to meet people from all different cultures and races and ethnicities and creeds, which is beautiful. And then when you go to somewhere like Sacred Heart, which is no offense to that, but you are dealing now with a more rigid, structured school that wants you to be dependent on their system. And when it comes to ethnicities, being diverse, cultures, and, you know, you just don't get that. Now, is it creative? Yes. Is it empowering for women, for females? Yes. But you do lack, you know, being able to connect with people of different races, of different ideologies. And for me, I was the only graduating Black female from Sacred Heart in my class year. And then in total for the whole school, for our whole high school, there was only 9 of us. So it was, like I said, it had its ups and downs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am glad that you made it out of that in such good spirits. Because you could
go. There you go. Because honestly, you have the right words on that. Because some people didn't. Some people didn't finish it. Some people, you know, so some people excelled greatly. You know, they went further than I did with the education they received from Sacred Heart and the experience. And then there's other people where it was, you know, it really did become a roadblock for them in life.
Wow. Well, I think I had a great time at the Brown School after you left me.
I'm gonna blame Dorothea on
Oh,
this one. That's my mama.
yeah, I remember. Um,
Yeah, she was there all the time.
all the things that you said about Brown are absolutely true, but what I found was that we black students were in the midst of a bunch of white liberals, which can be dangerous in itself too. So yeah.
I understand that. I do. I do. I do. I really do. I understand that. So, one of the things that we are going to be talking about, well, the primary thing is about play therapy, but where your center, the center that you are over, where that is housed at, is in West End of
Mhm.
Louisville. So, West End is a primarily black, uh,
Mhm.
uh, region of our city. Was it always that way? No, because
Right.
historically the West End was actually populated by white Americans, by white individuals, white citizens. And maybe you can give us the history of that, because this is her field, guys. This is her field.
Sure. So as the city of Louisville is getting blacker there, in the Great Migration, when my great grandparents moved to Louisville in the 40s and after, they are moving, lots of black people are moving to a place called Reed Alley, which is around where Beecher Terrace is right now. And so that
Okay.
part of the city is being flooded with lots of black people who are trying to get and start a new life here in the city of Louisville. And as that black population grows, white flight happens and white people abandon the West End for the suburbs. Now they are trying to come back. But that is how that turn happened in the 30s, 40s, 50s, which is no different than any other large American city. The same thing happens in Detroit, in Chicago.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
for
how we
sure.
came to be here. My family has been here for almost 100 years.
Wow.
I am a seventh generation Kentuckian by way of Christian County, which, if you know or don't know Kentucky geography, this is Kentucky, and we are about right here in Louisville. You got Indiana, Ohio. Christian County is about right here
Oh, wow.
in the Pocatello area, close to Paducah, right on the Tennessee line. So my family even moved here in the Great Migration. My granny, I think, was about 2 years old when her parents moved her here. So this
Wow.
is, I always say, a place that was chosen for me. James and Rosetta, my great grandparents, could have gone on to Detroit. They could have gone on to Chicago, but they chose to stay in Kentucky, and they were building a pipeline going back and forth from Christian County, bringing people to the city. So this is why I love this city so much, and definitely why I love the West End so much.
I love that. I love that. I didn't get a chance to share the full introduction
Oh, go ahead.
with everyone, but I want to kind of, introduce you and let people know what you do, and then, as we continue to chat, we'll explore more about what West End Women's Collaborative does and who you are. So West End Women's Collaborative is doing just this when we talk about advocacy, when we talk about activism, when we speak about using play as a tool for education as well as building community. On their website, they say they are walking the walk, and we see them not just walking the walk, but we experience them talking the talk. West End Women's Collaborative is dedicated to uniting our community through healing art, empowering, and this is from their website directly, empowering workshops and meaningful connections. We also focus on honoring and celebrating African American culture, weaving it into everything we do, from our events to our community initiatives. Our work is rooted in the belief that when we come together, we create something that's powerful. So today, I'm very, very honored and privileged to be able to chat with Mariel Gardener, a scholarly and fabulous young woman who is you are the acting chair, correct, over the West End Women's Collaborative.
In name, board chair, but we are definitely trying to move into a more shared leadership model. A lot of nonprofits function like corporations, and because of all the things that you just said, we want to make sure we are not only walking the walk but talking the talk. So how we present outwardly is how we intend to begin functioning inwardly too.
Yes, yeah, it was so interesting because we kind of like our lives kind of like interweave. Yes, yes, because right as I was leaving from being on the committee for the West, and that was West Louisville at the time, West Louisville Women's Collaborative. You were coming in, and at the time I was pregnant with twins, and now they're 6 years old. So I was pregnant with the twins, and I literally had to go on bed rest, and I knew I just couldn't commit the way that I wanted to. And I remember you being there at that meeting. I was like, "Oh, hi!" That was like my last one. I was like, "Dang!"
That name change a little bit too. So we were.
Can we talk about that name change? What made you guys
Founded
go through that?
the West Louisville Women's Collaborative. And it was really important to me to combat the erasure that is happening through gentrification in Black neighborhoods across Louisville. You have what is that place called? Liberty Green now. That used to be Clarksdale. You have Nulu now, and that is Butchertown. So all these Black neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods, the names were being changed. I don't know who or when we started calling the West End West Louisville, but it is a place that already exists in Kentucky. West Louisville is a city in Daviess County, right next to Davis County. It is not Daviess. Davis County, right next to Owensboro. So it's a place that already exists. And if we have not learned anything through colonization, is that you don't go changing names of things people have always called a thing. So we decided to change our name to the West End Women's Collaborative to better reflect our culture, our people who have been here for 100 years, like people in my family, and to combat that erasure that gentrification is bringing to our neighborhoods.
I agree. I agree with that so wholeheartedly. There's a show that my husband and I we like to watch, and it stars host Dalen Spratt and his wife, Stacy. I had to think about her name, but they have a show called Ghosted and Roasted. And so they talk about paranormal activity. And one of the things that they had on their show recently was that there was a location in which originally was a home to the Indigenous Americans, First Nations of that community. And then they were slaughtered. And instead of keeping the name, sacred as to who the first peoples are and maybe even like the tribe, they end up calling the name like something quite outrageous and quite demonic versus allowing it to be a place that was sacred and being respectful of the people there. So I know that that's like a little bit different, but still keeping it on track and on topic with the factor being that oftentimes a lot of locations that's sacred to a specific community does get changed. And it gets changed in such a way, like when I first heard about Nulu, I to this day, is something that you brought up, Nulu. I was like, really? Where is that coming from? I guess it stands for like New Louisville.
I call it Butchertown still because that's what it is.
I still consider I still consider it as Butchertown. I didn't, as you know, I grew up here, but I still spent a lot of time in my hometown of Detroit, which is my birthplace. So growing up here in Louisville, what I've always known Butchertown area for was Bears fabric. And a lot of times people who were outside of the community wouldn't go any further than Bears. So they go to Bears, do their shopping, and leave. So now whenever I'm like watching the news or something, because I really don't go out a whole lot, but I'm watching the news and they're talking about upcoming events for the weekend and they highlight the Nulu area. I'm like, wow, it's so interesting because a long time ago, when you and I were growing up, that area was not very heavily populated at all. It was, it just wasn't an area where people outside the community would go to at all. But now the thing is that the people that were residents of, and this is the danger of rebranding. And this is kind of the danger of when we talk about gentrification, is that the people who are native of that area then get kicked out
Yep.
and
Yep.
told like you're not welcome here.
Mm-hmm. And this is what's important to us at WEWC is that what we are building there and the properties that the organization owns, it is a place where we can always return first, and a place that can't be taken away from us. And it because it is driven by the people who are from there. I live 3 minutes around the corner from Ella House, and if I took the railroad tracks and cut through a place that I may not supposed to be walking through, I can get there on foot easier than driving all the way around. This is led by a woman from the West End. It is a board of people who are from the West End. Our volunteers are our neighbors. We are out in our neighborhood
Yes.
building this groundswell of energy and pouring all of that love into this space because it is ours and we intend to keep it that way for the future.
Yes. Yes, yes. Now, how would you say that play therapy adds into this? Because, of course, when I was there, and anytime whenever I see any of the advertisements for upcoming events, you guys have things for crafts. You have the labyrinth, which we'll speak about and explore later in this conversation. How does play therapy feed into the reality of what you do?
Imagination is important to the human existence, and
Yes.
especially in these black and brown and strategically undervalued places and people. We need imagination to give us hope so that we can see a way out of this thing. So everything that we do is just to spark things in people, whether that's conversation, whether that is showing people that they are artists, like it is in
Yes.
you. Art is just the tangible manifestation of what is in your mind. So whether you are painting or writing or acting or singing or dancing or playing, all of that is art. And we are channeling that to show people um, that this, if your thoughts can be different about playing and imagination and creativity, then you can put that out into the world, and we have all the power
Yes.
within us to change this world that we're in.
So true. So true. I love during a conversation that you and I had prior to this, and you were speaking about an accountant, I do believe, and they were saying how they wish that they were able to do art, and you said, but you are an artist with
With numbers,
numbers. I love that.
yes. And so many people are that same way. I was convincing someone, oh, my doctor, I went in to see her and I said, your bedside manner is wonderful. That's an art. It is something you took the time to think about in your mind. You honed it and made it into something that you are putting out into the world.
Yes.
That's all art is. It's not something that just hangs on a wall, though I do love my portrait of my little cousin here.
There
That is
you
that is
go.
beautiful. All that was something in someone's mind that they put out. They got it out of here and put it
Mm-hmm.
out into the world. And we do that in so many ways that we don't even
That's
recognize because
true.
we've been trained to think that art is always in a museum. Art is always
Mm-hmm.
hanging on the wall. If you can't draw, then you're not an artist. When there are so many ways for you to be artful.
I agree. I agree. Now, I do have to be a little snoopy. I
Hmm.
have to be a little bit snoopy. Is your doctor in the West End?
My doctor is not in the
Oh,
West.
okay. No. Because there's a doctor in the West End that I go to, and then she's located in the YMCA building, and she is phenomenal. I'm like,
Is this a general doctor? Because I do need a new general doctor.
yes,
Okay.
she is. Yes, she is. So we'll have to chat afterwards. Because yeah, I freaking love her. My kids love her. She's girl. She's amazing. She is. She is. I'm like, if she even left that location, I would still travel to go see her. Because I mean, she does. She has, yes, she does. She has very phenomenal bedside manners. She believes in, natural healing. Before I just, send a pill or prescription your way. Let's see how we can handle this in a way that's going to be natural and with remedies that you have at home. So
Yeah, send me that
I
person's
will.
information.
I
Hmm.
will. I will. I will. Yeah, she's amazing. So like I said, I had to be a little bit stupid. It's not something I would usually ask, but you and I. You and I right here. All right. So you guys on your website, you talk about exploration.
Hmm.
How does exploration feed into the philosophy of who West End Women's Collaborative is?
Well, one thing we've been doing is exploring the state of Kentucky. Now, I am a
Mm.
little girl through and through. Through and through. I am a city girl. The country has been worked out of me, and it didn't take many generations for it to go. I like to be at home in the air conditioner. I farm, but I don't like being
Yes.
inside. So we've been exploring.
Listen, I have to interrupt this young lady right here. Not only do you farm, not only do you garden, but she is a political activist. She knows history. She can trace your family
Mhm.
roots. You are a homeowner. You speak about race relations and as well as solutions that we could possibly look into to resolve the issues of race relations. And you are an advocate for other people to have their home, to own their own home and own their property.
This all rooted in land, and I think that's like exactly what I'm talking about in exploring Kentucky more. I have roots deep in Kentucky. My family was in Christian County for almost 200 years. That's a place that is inside of me. It's inside my flesh and blood. So what we do at WEWC is we help people trace genealogy and also keep those ancestors and their genius alive. Um, so
Is that a
trace,
free service or is that like or do
if you
does
come
that cost? Is it
if you come into Ella House and you sit there long enough, someone will ask you about your granny and them, and we will start talking about Glasgow, Kentucky, or Moorhead, Kentucky, and how we know these places and what we know and feel of those places. And if you want a little genealogy done, you sit there long enough, I will trace it for you. Um, It is really what I like to do. My friend Olivia from Tennessee calls it were witching.
Mhm.
So we took a trip funded through the Filson Historical Society. We took a
Okay.
neighbor from Chickasaw down to her ancestral home in Warren County. The county seat there is Bowling Green. And we did a little of her genealogy and found some great grandparents, I think, of hers,
Oh
was
wow.
actually able to take her to the grave sites of her people that she didn't even know existed. Um, this same person, we went to the Buttermilk Festival in Bardstown, which is a derivative of an emancipation celebration.
Oh wow.
And I said, well, let's just look back at your genealogy and see if anything comes up. So we're talking, and we're in Nelson County, I believe that is, and she remembered a name suddenly. So I filled in that in her genealogy, and lo and behold, that name she remembered was a person who lived in Nelson County. That is
Oh
where
wow.
when you are in these places that your family has been for generations upon generations upon generations, you're going to remember something, whether it is yours to remember or it is theirs. It is coming out through you. And experiences like that, as we've been exploring Kentucky, have happened with more than just that one person. On that trip to down to southwestern Kentucky in Warren County, I was able to go back to land that my family owned back in 1924.
Mhm.
That is a spiritual experience when you are where people you've never met, but people who made you are from.
Yes.
So get out and we explore Kentucky. Also, the arts. We keep free art supplies inside of
Mhm.
and we encourage people to take them. There is no charge for that. All
Oh,
of the things that we
wow.
do, they are no charge for, because we want people to feel at home and wanted and loved. Everybody deserves a little extra love
Yes.
and so keeping those free art supplies in the house for people is encouraging them to explore their artistic creativities, things they might not think they have, a new medium that you might have been unsure about. Just grab that little clay sculpture kit. You might be good at that. You don't know unless you try, and explore something new. So yeah, we are exploring physically, exploring things mentally, emotionally too, through art and culture.
I like that. I love that. I didn't know about the free art supplies, but wait. I take that back. I knew that if you started a project, if whenever I went on a Saturday, if you started a project, that you could take those supplies with you that
Mhm.
you had used. But I didn't know as far as being able to come and get some free art supplies
Yes,
if you need
we
to.
have evolved. There are sculpture kits and crochet things, and we even have like STEM things, so you could get a how to make a
Oh,
volcano,
yes.
a rocket. There's
Yes.
a drum set. I want to get harmonicas in 2025. I love a
There
harmonica.
you go.
Uh, we just have all kinds of different things that we're encouraging that spark of creativity to come out through.
So, do you guys still, is this open anytime, any day of the week, or is this just on Saturdays? Because, of course, when I was going on Saturdays was when we had, our craft day. Is that still
So
the same, or has that
we
changed?
still do open studio,
Okay.
which is the last Saturday of every month. And then we also have a thing we call Labyrinth Love, which is right before open studio on that last Saturday of the month, where we are tending to our grounds, weeding in the labyrinth, picking up trash, things like that. So those are our programs, where you can come and get free art supplies when we're open. Those are our only two programs that happen regularly. But the
Okay.
thing about Ella House is it's free community gathering space. So if you're having a book club or a workshop or a natural hair care seminar, then you can use our space for free and you get access to our free art supply nook. Now, I will also say this. We close down in October and we hibernate in the winter as the labyrinth is resting. So are we. And then we open back up again in May to the public. So that open
Okay.
studio is May through September. Labyrinth Love, May through September. And the free use of the space is also during that time.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad that you said that. So that's May through September, and it's a free space for the community. Is that open to anyone? So if someone lives on Taylor Boulevard, Taylorsville Road, Hurstbourne, Bardstown, can they come and get free art supplies, or is it just for the people who live in the West End of Louisville?
It's for everyone.
It's for everyone. Of course, do not abuse it. I imagine here I am coming in with, because I did some teaching, so here I am, and I'm a homeschool teacher as well. So I'm like, don't abuse it. Don't take 5 Twisty Rolls when you only need 2. Leave it open for other people. But of course, if it's done, if you guys are free for them to take as much as they want, you can address that without me saying it.
Yes, yes. We take what you need and leave some for others. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. I was a teacher prior to, so I have some. It's got to be open for everyone. Just like when the kids get their candy and stuff, we're like, hey, they still got their Halloween candy right now, because we're just like,
Wow.
we want to moderate how much sweets that they're getting and make sure that you save some for everyone else. That's the thing. Do you guys have any art challenges that you do? Because I know that you said about the STEM and the crochet kits and the sculpture kits. So do you guys have any challenges where, like, maybe the last Saturday of the month, this is, challenge yourself with creating a sculpture?
I think that's kind of an implied thing. So we call what we do radical hospitality and
Okay.
care. We want people to feel at home and comfortable. So you're never pushed or challenged in any way.
Okay.
Maybe encouraged, and art encouragement uh, is maybe that's a better word. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, okay, I like that because I know, like, sometimes in the art community, and even in because I'm in the dog community, so we have our own little challenges. Like during like the month of May, we have a mermaid challenge. So I think every other day is something different, just like reading a book. So then you kind of interpret that your own way.
Mhm.
Uh, a seashell. How are you going to place that in with your mermaid? And then in the month of October, I think they have like Inktober. So if you're into drawing with art or you want to try it out, then what, prompts can you follow to create a different one each day or every other day? So that's why I was curious, do you guys have any challenges that you have people to do? But I like that you said that it is a radical art space for people to just be able to challenge themselves.
Hmm. Yeah, and we're here to support folks every step of the way, artistically and otherwise. Our neighborhood associations, there are three in Chickasaw, which is the neighborhood that we're in. Two of those three use our space as a meeting place. So
Okay.
we are, yeah, we're doing exactly
So
that.
is everyone on the committee also artists? So like if someone had like a question, they could be like, "How do you crochet this?" and they kind of like let them know.
Um, yes. Everyone is
That's
an
good.
artist because everyone is an artist, which it took me a
I love
while to kind
that.
of
I love
comprehend.
that. Yes.
So what I discovered is that I am a writer, and
Mm-hmm.
that is my medium. I also have discovered through WEWC how much I love to
Oh, drink on
collage.
me. Oh, wow.
I've also learned to knit there. One of the first events I went to before I became a member was the knitting circle, when we were knitting pussy hats for after the inauguration. The first,
Yes.
what did Attica Scott call him? The Orange Menace, the first uh,
Yes.
inauguration. We
Yes. I remember.
knitted hats for those women's marches where I learned to knit, and I still knit today.
I love that. I love that crochet. I want to try to knit. That's one of my things that I do want to that I want to be able to work up to is being able to knit.
Relaxing helps me get my nerves out. I'm never knitting anything. I mean, like it's just I call it's a scarf maybe because it's just a block of thing because I'm not really knitting to make anything. I'm just knitting to relax.
There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. And that's the beautiful thing about play therapy and art itself is that it's a place of release, a place, it's
Mhm.
cathartic. It allows you to be able to relax. It allows you to be able to identify with yourself. What are some of the things that you have received back as far as feedback? What kind of feedback have you garnered from other people who attend the sessions?
A lot of people think we should charge for the things that we do. They're very pleasantly surprised to know that all of our events are free, from Open Studio, Labyrinth Love to our 8th of August celebration. The 8th of August is Kentucky's Emancipation Day. Um, and we have a celebration every 8th of August on the day. So if the 8th is rolling around, we are there at 5 p.m. on the
Okay.
8th of August every year, not the Saturday before because that's better. We are there on the 8th of August celebrating our emancipation. Wait a minute, what was the question? You were asking me what feedback. Okay, so
Yes. You're
that
fine.
we should charge for events, but a lot of the time I don't. We are only getting positive feedback because we are so intentional about what we do and caring for people in every way possible. We think of everything. We are planning months ahead of time for events that only last 2 hours because we are
Yes.
trying to think of every single detail that we can to make people comfortable. So our feedback is that we should do more and we should be charging for these things. But one thing we don't do is tire ourselves out. I think you may remember
Mm-hmm.
hearing we move at the speed of trust. So
Mm.
we're not trying to act outside of our capacity. We start our board meetings with the thing we call On My Heart, where we are talking about the things that we are thinking about as individuals.
Yeah.
It's not about running a business. This is care and concern for one another so that we have true and genuine care and concern for our community too.
There you go. I fully agree with that. And so I love what you're speaking as far as the feedback that you guys have received. I guess one of my questions, along with that, I was checking on something that I wanted to see with the website. One of my other questions would be with the ELA house. Can you tell our audience what does ELA, the Ella House, stand for?
It stands for Energy, Light, and Art. So, a little more history about us. The collaborative was started in 2014 by 9 women who wanted a place where the West End could relax and rest and rejuvenate. So, through community feedback sessions, they came up with creating a labyrinth on a plot of land that they won through the mayor's Lots of Possibility competition. We are the only project still standing from that
Mm.
almost 11
Wow.
years later and have grown exponentially. Um, so after the installation of the labyrinth in 2014, we purchased the house that we're in, Ella House, and used that as free community gathering space. It had a tree through the roof. That's why we have the skylights, which are an excellent addition. So, God moves in the way God's supposed to move. Put that tree through that
Mm.
roof so we can have
There
light
you go.
in the space.
Hey, that's so true. That is
Yeah,
so true. You wonder, like, why is this happening? And
it's
and we
all for
can,
a reason.
yeah, yeah, yes, so true.
So, and so that place is rehabbed and it's beautiful and it's loving and it is welcoming. And then in 2020, we purchased a little white house right next door to our labyrinth. And we have raised the money to rehab that. What's stopping us right now is that it's in a floodplain.
Okay.
There's a pipe or something that runs at a diagonal across where we want to build an extension. So we are having to work with the city and an engineer on how to reroute that water, which may cost a lot more money. But we have raised a lot of
Yeah.
money to rehab what is there. And again, moving at the speed of trust. We could have just rehabbed it and thrown this thing up, but we are moving within our capacity. And I think that it's a bit of a blessing that we are moving this slow because we're able to get the word out to more of our neighbors, which is really important. The way we are developing land here is with consent of the people who live there.
Yes.
So,
I
um,
like that.
for instance, is we wanted to extend this house back towards the alley.
Okay.
But and upon looking at that, we would be blocking our neighbor's sun into her windows.
Okay.
And so we decided we can't do that. We can't take the sun away from somebody just because we're building something. So we're pushing out more towards the street and to the right instead of blocking her sun.
Okay.
We're trying to be a good neighbor, first of all, and not a group
Yes.
that comes in and stakes the claim. We're not colonizers. How about that? Um, we're
I
trying
understand.
to move with intention, and sometimes that happens a lot slower. Than other people who are not moving that way.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it.
Oh God,
Uh,
history. One more thing.
oh,
So then in 2023, there is a bit of a large field between the Labyrinth and Ella House, and that land belonged to the Jefferson County School Board, and we
okay.
were trying to work with them to purchase that for the past 9 years, and finally we bought that in
Yay.
July of 2023. So we are on 4 contiguous properties now. We are not
Good.
landlocked in. And again, sowing love into these places that cannot be taken away from us, and places that we can always return to.
Good, good. That is so awesome. When we talk about these, the labyrinth and the ELA house, is this open? I already know and understand this, but just for anyone who's an audience member who's listening, especially someone who is based in Louisville or comes to Louisville and visit, is this open for anyone of any race, anyone of any ethnicity, or is this just for Black and Brown Indigenous people?
This is for anyone. Our founders were a group of multiracial, multi-generational women
Yes.
from all parts of Louisville, different socioeconomic backgrounds. This place is for everyone,
Yes.
but our focus is on Black people.
And is this because it is located in
The
West
Black
End?
neighborhood, yes. Yes.
Now, when we talk about the West End, we're speaking of just as this is for listeners who are listening now, presently, or you know, you listen to this on replay later on at night or tomorrow, something of that nature. To give you an idea of West End, it is a, you know, would you consider this as a location that has a lot of opportunities to be able to identify with oneself through art, or is this a place in which it's not as easy to have access to art?
Um, hmm. My mother is an artist, but she probably would not categorize herself as that. She makes very beautiful things. She is very creative. She encouraged us to play instrument. We met in band
Yes,
class.
we did.
She also encouraged us to play sports. So we were cheerleaders
Yes,
together
we
too.
were.
Reach back 25 years for that one.
Oh yes, I loved it. I loved it because I'm not even gonna go there. 'Cause my name was misspelled. Remember that I showed you? I was like, look, she keeps putting my name wrong. Like, but yeah, but you know what? It was fun. It was good. It was good. It was an experience. You know, when you're trying to find your way artistically and creatively, and still be yourself. Because even though it was a creative, you know, school,
Mhm.
uh, you still trying to, you know, you still find yourself trying to fit into a cookie cutter role.
Yeah.
So I believe with us being, you know, cheerleaders and yet still being who we are and who we were then, it was still a desire to try to fit into a role, to be like everyone else, knowing that deep down we weren't like everyone else.
And for
And we're still not like everyone
and
else.
I absolutely succeeded in fitting into the mold and was miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
That's true. That's true. I feel like that's something that we need to explore a little bit. Actually, let's back up a little bit because we did bring up Brown, and you did say at the very beginning of this about the danger of having a school that's headed by white liberals.
Mhm.
And I want to explore that because a lot of times, you know, when we look at uh, you know, what is it, like allies or comrades
Mhm.
in the fight for justice, be it with civil rights or anything of that nature, we're looking to say that someone aligns with the purpose and the goals that the disparaging community has. And
Mhm.
we easily say onto ourselves that someone like, I don't know, like a Lincoln or a Susan B. Anthony, that they understand the hearts of the people that they're supposedly fighting for. And Susan B. Anthony's an interesting one. She's a real interesting one. You and I have to have a conversation about her on one day just to see. I want to just like hear what you feel about that. But it's really easy, you know, Quakers and abolitionists.
Mhm.
We say, okay, they're on board. And yet at the same time that they may be on board, they can also
Mhm.
be motivated by this underlying stereotypism of the people that they claim to be helping, which sometimes can be just as damaging.
Yeah.
So what would you say was your experience at J. Graham Brown School as far as, and we're not calling out J. Graham Brown School. I mean, it is a good
It's,
school. I would have loved to stay there, quite honestly.
um, I think that I was being trained to be an obedient black capitalist there. And I don't know if that was knowing or unknowingly, but I think that I am glad that I broke free from that mold, and with the lessons that I learned there, I think was able to break free. Brown really instills a love of earth for people and a love for humanity. And I think sometimes well meaning white people can use those two things as a way to make black people assimilate into capitalism and white supremacy. But I think it was free thinking enough that I was able to see something different eventually, because it wasn't in those years of the 90s. Listen to me. Um, I ended up going to U of L after and
Okay.
majoring in Pan African Studies.
Oh,
That's
wow.
still,
I was going to ask you, what did you do afterwards? I went to Spalding,
it's still,
but I went to U of L. I went to U of L because, I went to grad school twice. Well, 3 times. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I went to U of L. I went back to Spalding. Then went to, I can't even think of that school. I got to ask my husband. I went to another school, whatever the name of the school is. It's totally out of my mind because of the C. But listen, with the Pan African Studies, did you have Dr. Is his name Rick? Ricky?
Ricky Jones.
Dr. Ricky Jones. Yeah, the one from Atlanta.
No.
No. Okay. Well, there you go. Okay, she was like, no. He and we butt heads a couple of times. I was like, man. He's a great educator, and he's very, very knowledgeable. I don't know how he teaches right now. Amazing guy, okay? Like, don't come after me, anybody. He's an amazing guy. But yeah, we did, but on our philosophy of
I
things.
think
But I thought it was interesting class.
even still, being at a university and studying black people, I still had internalized white supremacy inside of me. I had a lot of anti-blackness still. Academia breeds that.
Yeah, it does.
Uh, it is a white institution teaching black people, so you can't help but get that. And then I worked at Humana for 17 years, again, trying to fit into this mold, and I was miserable until I decided to one day just randomly quit because I'd had enough of being miserable. And I decided to put my efforts into the West End Women's Collaborative and my farm full time.
Oh, wow. Wow, you got out of that matrix, right?
I did. I'm so grateful and I'm so happy.
It was Camels. It was Camelsville. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. My mom was like, Campbell somebody's school. Yeah, it was Campbellsville. That's where I went. Thank
Does your mom still sew? Does
you.
she still sew?
Yeah, actually, she still does. Not as much. She's in the healthcare. So,
Oh,
yeah. She wears a lot of different hats. She does EKGs, EGGs, and one more. Stress. I know she does like stress tests and stuff. She does like 3 or 4 things in the hospital. And now she's doing like the schedules and stuff. So she stays really, really busy. And, it's a blessing that, that they have her there as far as, the energy that she gives and being able to, you know, handle the job on such a professional level and being able to encourage people in their most stressful seasons of their life and praying for people. So yeah, it's definitely not easy, but she sews here and there, not the same. She says yes, I do sometimes, and yeah, sometimes she still does. And what my mom was like always at the school. In fact, when we were cheerleading, I told my husband about this. When do you remember the basketball players used to have songs that they did on our names? Like Rashida, like they would say someone's name and then say something about them. Do you remember that on the back of the bus?
no. No, I don't.
Oh yeah, yeah, they did. They did, and they said some horrible things about some of the young ladies. Like you found out that they had some like behind the scenes activity where you're like, wow. Mine, on the other hand, they were like, I'm gonna tell my mama, and I was like, you know what? It doesn't really hurt my feelings. Like
Yeah.
that's what I say. That is what I say. You do something, I'm like, I'm gonna tell my mom. Like that was like automatic for me. I was just like, I'm gonna tell my mom. Like I am codependent, and I'm gonna make sure. That's just where I was at that time. I'm gonna make sure that my mom knows what you did because she's gonna be
Oh,
at that school. Like that was just my attitude. I was like, my mom's gonna be at that school and she's gonna go to the principal's office and you go get in trouble. Like I didn't care I was 14. So what? But you didn't have no behind the scenes stuff on me. So
I,
that was me. That was
I
me.
remember that.
Yeah, yeah. They were right on the bus just doing their hand clap. I
And
was like,
probably
wow.
lying on women. Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably lying because I do
Probably or
remember.
probably not though. You remember some of the young ladies on her. Hey, hey, listen. I love women and I love women empowerment. I took a feminist class when I was at U of L. U of L is really quite interesting because Spalding is a private school and we're also dealing with another Catholic school, right? And then you go to U of L that's much more secular, much more, like they got a whole lot more students, a very, very big campus, and they have more classes. So I remember taking a feminist class there. And one of the things that I realized, as much as I love women empowerment, and I believe that women they deserve better rights. And I want us to touch on that next. They deserve to have equal rights in everything that we do. I also learned I wasn't quite so a feminist on the level that I thought that I was because after my experience of going to Sacred Heart, for example, and hearing all the different tales of females and just it's, some of the things that they did to set guys up, I learned that I'm not as much of a feminist as I thought that I was because sometimes women are in the wrong on things and it doesn't always get called out because I'm a woman.
Okay.
What would be your take on that? So
Uh,
kind of
I believe that feminism is not for Black women. I think
mm,
Alice Walker would say that womanism is a term that she coined in, I don't have it right here, In Search of Our Mother's Gardens. Um,
yes! Got that book, yes.
I would follow the wisdom of Alice Walker.
I like that. And see, why are the reasons, just in case anyone goes, well, why isn't it for Black women? If anything, women who are Black go through a lot to where they should be like top, top one in front of the line shouting for women empowerment and that women need this and women feminism. Um, One of the things that I learned, I brought up about Susan B. Anthony.
I was gonna go back to that if you didn't. Yep.
I believe it was, do we want to say it was Sojourner Truth who was marching next to her and she pushed her out of the line?
I mean, that happens in a lot of white feminist movements. If they were truly about women, they would recognize that white women should be at the back of that conversation and that women of color and especially Black women are being treated the worst, and those are the people who you should be lifting up the most. And I think that is Alice Walker's beef with feminism, which is why she coined her own term and ideology around womanism.
I love that. I love that. And I respect that. I guess for me personally, maybe because I live on this, like, I don't know, I'm like, maybe like rose colored glasses. I would love if we could all, in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., be like linked arm in arm to be able to make things happen and to do this together. Uh, Still being mindful, of course, of the history
Mhm.
of each culture and race and ethnicity and what they've gone through, and that in so many
Mhm.
ways,
Mhm.
what our forefathers have done has created this mess.
And
And that, if I am of a different race, now Now, I'm a little bit different on something because, we talked about energy, you and I, in a previous conversation. That's one of the things I want to touch on. And then you like talked about that ELA stands for energy, light, and art. And I was like, oh, we got to talk about art. We got to talk about energy. We got to talk about energy because you also brought up about the young lady who went back to her hometown, right? Like her family's hometown, and was able to kind of like piece together this name that was also in that area. Was in Newton. It was in the Newton area.
Nelson
Nelson,
County.
Nelson County. And I had a friend of mine with the last name Nelson.
Mhm.
So I want to talk about energy, but yeah, like for me and where I'm at is this ideology that together we can get it done, you
Mhm.
know? And maybe in one life, because I do prescribe to the idea of reincarnation. I do. Personally, I know that not everyone else does, and that's okay, and I respect that. But if in fact in another life I was a white female
Mhm.
that was a slave owner, right? Or let's say that let's say that in my if in fact reincarnation were not true, if in my own ancestry is a slave master, which for the most part anyone who's born in America, we're all mutts, we're all mixed in some way. There's no one that's just like a pure race if you're here in America, uh, in my greatest opinion. But nonetheless, if in fact that's true, that I may have been a white female in another life that was a plantation owner, or that my ancestry is this master. Where I'm really at with it is understanding that the thoughts of the past does not have to be the thoughts of the present,
Mhm.
and not holding that this new generation to the same accountability of what was then. And that's why I'm like, can we do this linked in arms? Can we do this together? But I totally feel you, and I totally respect where you're at when you're like, hey, those of us who are women of other races need to be up at the front line because of the
Mhm.
damage that's been done.
And capitalism breeds competition, right? So that is that struggle of why we cannot unite. We have this system that thrives on us being divided. And these are things that we are trying to overcome at WEWC through dialogue, through art, through gardening,
Yes.
preservation of history. When you go through Louisville, you see a lot of monuments to a lot of people who have done very bad things in their
Yes.
extracurricular time. And we are trying to build monuments to people like our grandmothers, people like my grandmother, Mary Flagg, who was a genius in her own right, but was interrupted in expressing that genius out to the world. So the little house that we are rehabbing is called Granny's House.
Yes.
In honor of my grandmother and in honor of yours and every other woman genius who is stifled by these systems. We are trying to keep these people and their memories and their genius alive in Alice Walker's In Search of Our Mother's Gardens. I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to try very hard to say
There you
this.
go. Go for it, girl.
She says, "We are a people, and a people do not throw their geniuses away. And if they are thrown away, it is our duty as artists and as witnesses for the sake of our children to collect them, and if necessary, bone by bone."
Mm.
We
Yes.
are we are trying to preserve these people in these places who deserve to be remembered in a very loving,
Yes.
in a very playful way. We are remembering good times and not trauma. We are remembering celebrations. We host a Founders Day, Labor Day weekend, Labor Day, Memorial Day weekend in May, Memorial Day weekend, in honor of these 9 women and their genius, so that it is not thrown away in celebration of my genius and your genius, Rashida, and your mother's genius. I
Yeah.
remember those clothes, which I thought were very beautiful, and in trying to fit into this cookie cutter, was like, oh, wow, her mom makes her clothes. But in the back of my mind, I was like, wow, I know that's a lot of skill that this woman has.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Was not a thread out of place. Keeping people like your mother, when she is no longer here with us, keeping those memories of those people alive is
But she's
really important.
she gonna be here till 100, girl. She gonna be here till 100. Longevity running the family.
We hope so.
I'm claiming it. I claim it, name it, tag it. I'm like, everybody, 120. I put that on everybody. I'm like, yeah, 120 years. I'm so serious. Girl, you think I'm playing? I go in that Bible, and the Bible's like 300 years old, or, innumerable amount of years that this person lived. Of course, now, after sin entered in, the years got shortened. But I'm like, forget a 70, 80. We going 120 on everybody.
On everybody.
Good health.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, yes. Because I believe in manifestation. It may not happen right now, but it will happen. It may not happen automatic, but when we talk about 120 years, that means it's gradual. So, yes, I do. I name it, claim it. Name it, claim it.
Yeah. Claiming these legacies. Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. But I love that. So let me like experience Granny's house. Can you take us through? 'Cause I have not been to Granny's house,
So
but I have seen it on the website.
right now is abandoned. It was burned in a fire some years ago. But what we are hoping to do is transform this into a wellness center where
Okay.
holistic practitioners can come and utilize that space at deeply discounted rates. We're not trying to charge anybody $1,100 for rent around here because we want these services to be accessible to people. And then through community feedback, folks wanted commerce. May not be what I wanted, but it ain't about me at the time. But so we are also building in this extension a place where an entrepreneur can come in and have a brick and mortar space for a time to help people to get started in business. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. That's very what like East Coast, West Coast, like what pop-up shops and commerce, like they're gonna rent it out for 3 months or 6 months, or they have a brick and mortar for a while. I like that. I really, really do. I feel like we need more of that here in our city because my mom and we used to have this joke, because you remember that. It's like my mom and I didn't have any siblings. I had one person that was close to me as a sibling, but he was like 9 years older than me. But then that was my mother's guy friend, his son. But one of the things that my mom used to say as a joke, she said that this was a big Mayberry town. Like Louisville was a big Mayberry. And in many ways, and that, well, what is that? The Andy Griffith show at Mayberry. So our town has gotten better. Our city has gotten better, but we do still kind of have the town vibe. Like, you recently have a post, and guys, if you haven't been on her page, get on her page and get on the WEWC for Art page as well. But you have one with the trolley coming through. The trolley is coming right through the restaurant. I think it's like one of your last posts.
This is Oldham County, okay?
Oh, wow. I thought it was here in Louisville.
I get out in Kentucky. Listen to me. I have been out in these roads. So in LaGrange, you are like sitting in the middle of Main Street and a train just goes by. And I'm thinking, what is happening? What if I'm driving down the road and hey, if they like it, I love it.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean. Okay, call me crazy, but I really like the Louisville in town mode because that is what we really are. And I think we have an identity crisis in Louisville. We can't decide we want to be. And our leaders are always trying to make us Nashville or Chicago. And that's not who we are as people. We are Southern people with Southern sensibilities. Louisville is a salad bowl of different Kentucky cultures. And I think we should just lean into that. I don't think we need to be anything else but who we are and stop trying to be these metropolises around. I don't want to be Nashville. It's weird there. Chicago is way too big. Indianapolis, super industrial. It looks like smog and things have just settled on everything. It's
Mhm.
just, I like Louisville being a nice town because that's all we need to be is who we are.
I agree with that. I agree that we do definitely need to be who we are. I think the thing is that we have so many different people from different, like I'm a transplant. I come from Detroit. Uh, the one who I said I was very close to as a brother, he comes from New York.
Hmm.
Uh, and then, like my husband with the different fields, I mean, like he was born here, but then he lived in California and came here. And then there's other people who he's worked alongside of, or because I'm stay at home and I homeschool and stuff. So and I write, so I'm like home based a whole lot. So I'm gonna use him as the example. But he, comes in contact with people from Chicago and from like you said, Indianapolis and Detroit and all those other places. So like we are literally that melting pot where people come here
Hmm.
to be able to settle. And I remember when my mother, when she had her guy friend, I had a conversation with him about him coming from New York and being here. And he said, well, I'm here because you get a chance to experience all the seasons here. And he said this is really a place where people like to retire and be able to experience all four seasons versus only seeing maybe two or three seasons or just one season for the majority of their life. But I do feel like, personally, because I was very young while they were together, in this time, I'm like 42 now. In this day and time, we have a soccer team and we got, we have like a lot of big teams here where I'm just like, I would like for us to explore a little bit more. I
Yeah.
really,
Um,
really would.
I do understand what you mean. And I think that is that identity crisis, trying to be like somebody else, trying to fit into that cookie cutter, right? We aren't exploring what could be different and cool and unique about this place. We're too busy trying to be somebody else and something that we're not. I totally agree with that about Louisville. And then it just comes across as kind of stale, like when you're here because it doesn't really even feel authentic and you're not
Mm-hmm.
tell that we don't integrate diversity when decisions are being made about how to redevelop a thing.
I understand.
It is glaring, and again, I love this place. I love this place because it was chosen for me. I would not leave it because if it was good enough for my grandmother, it is good enough for me. But
My grandmother comes from here. I told you about that. My grandmother comes from here. Then she went to Detroit, met my grandfather, and ended up settling down. But then her family was still here in Kentucky. So
and
yeah,
the
she
Louisville,
said it's good enough for my grandmother. It's good enough.
she didn't have no problem here. She never wanted to leave. I have been all around the world. I have been to a lot of places I really enjoy. But there is no place for me, no place that pulls my heart like the city of Louisville. It is
Wow.
my place. I love it. And my hope is that people who love it in this way, this intense way, and not trying to exploit it or be greedy about it, people like me and people like that I hang out with, if we could have a chance, and I think we're taking this chance at WEWC of turning this into something that is for us and of us. When you come
Mm-hmm.
to our spot, you got Grippos and L8. L8 is a ginger ale soft drink that is made in Winchester, Kentucky.
Mm.
That is of this place. So you are getting that.
I didn't
Grippos
know
are
that.
from
What?
mhm. Grippos are not from Louisville, but you can't tell me that the West don't put on for some Grippos now. You can't tell,
I,
you
I
can't
learned
tell
about Gripples at Brown. I don't know if you remember a young lady by R. Brown. I'm not gonna say her first name.
me.
Do you remember her? She was on cheerleading team with us.
Uh-huh.
She introduced me to those Gripples and introduced me to pickles with hot sauce. I was like, what? And it tastes good. You put those like combined all together. Oh my goodness, yes.
Yes. there are things culturally that are relevant to Kentucky that show up in Louisville. I mean, Cincinnati is just across the bridge from
Yes.
Covington and Newport and all these cities. So, of course, something of Cincinnati creeps down and becomes part of our culture too. There are so many things that we can lean into. Louisville of the 80s and 90s had a lot of community festivals
Yes, it
where things
did. 80s.
would
I
happen
miss it.
your
Yes.
neighborhood, and those things have been squashed out. You talked about art showing up. I think we digressed from that point, and I was talking about my mother being an artist. Support
Hmm.
of local artists stopped happening in Louisville, so all these wonderful ideas that were coming out of these neighborhoods kind of got squashed. The Fund for the Arts has brought back a mini grant for events, which has helped fund our 8th of August celebration. And I think I said that in our application. Louisville was cool when it was weird, when we were
Yeah,
having these neighborhood.
come on now. It was.
Bringing this
Yes.
grant back helps us to get back to that thing which we had been before. I just, I cannot talk enough about how much I love this place.
Oh my gosh, you're giving me like a rekindling in my spirit for it. Because I'm always talking about like, oh, what if I want to move? So,
Mm. Take- Now, listen, this is what I do for rest and play. I go to Lexington once a month for 3 days
Lexington's,
and
girl,
explore
Lexington is beautiful.
burn. And then I'm from Lexington getting out into other parts of further eastern Kentucky because Lexington is not in eastern Kentucky. Please don't tell anybody from Lexington they live in eastern Kentucky. They
Hmm.
do. Um, I am working on a project in Estill County, Kentucky, to tell the story of the
Yes.
Black people who were working in the mines of Fitchburg in the 1870s and the story of what happened to them. You can check
And
out
that's
my
on
book,
YouTube.
Operation
Go ahead.
52 on YouTube, which tells the story of land dispossession, expulsion, and a massacre of the Black people of Estill County in the 1870s. So I'm working on an exhibit for their historical society and their STEAM museum, which is a train museum there about the Black people there.
That's
Um,
good.
yeah, so getting out into Kentucky because it's not just Louisville. And when you're a Louisvillian, you are brought up to believe it is us and then the rest of them.
Hmm.
Um, my mother does not like that I go to Lexington so much. She don't like it there. Mostly because she's a big Louisville fan. But um, I am exploring this state because I am a part of it. It's not just about Louisville for me anymore. It is about getting out into these places, not only that I am from, but these places that I'm connected to because I am a Kentuckian.
I love that. Now, of course, now we're coming from being artisans, right? We have an open mind. We have, open views, right? And we're loving, and we want to make sure that we're a building community. But the reality is that we are in Kentucky. And we
Hmm.
do have sundown counties. How do you handle that? How are you about that? Like, have you had any issues with that?
Girl, I go.
If anyone doesn't know, you can Google that about sundown counties. So that was like a huge issue for my grandfather about coming here to Louisville from Detroit.
I go in the house. That is, and I don't play no games about my safety. And I am taking someone with me, or I know someone who is in that place. Oh, yes, I'm going to tell this story. Okay, so I was part of a program called the Kentucky Rural Urban Exchange, and for 3 weekends in a summer, you would go spend it in a place in Kentucky. So you could spend it in an urban center like a Owensboro or Louisville or Lexington. And then you could also we would also go to rural places like Muhlenberg County, where a white woman came up to me and smacked me on my arm, and I did not know why she did that. I could not discuss. I don't know why she did that, but she did. These things are real, and it is. I mean, it's unsafe out here sometimes, depending on where you are. But there are also a lot of people out in this state who I know would not let anyone harm me in any way. And those are white people who are from these rural communities, and some black people. Black people live in every county in this Commonwealth. Let me tell you, yes,
That's
they
true.
do. Um,
That's true. They do.
and,
They
and
do. That,
they are good and decent people who are not going to let me be in any harm or danger. Now, I am not advocating for you and your black behind just to roll up in some rural space. You better get to know somebody first before you go.
that's so very, very true. Because, like I said, we are artisans and we are creatives, and it's very easy to feel like I'm a tree hugger.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a tree hugger. I
Mhm.
love. Like I said, I'm like arm in arm. Can we do this arm in arm? Can we link up and fight for justice together? That's like my mindset on a lot of different things. I know, is it always like that? 100% no. I have my moments. Especially like when certain things come up. I can be kind of like foggy and cloudy on it, but then I go back to being that tree hugger. So my thing is, although we're artisans and we're creatives, and we may feel like everyone else feels that way, or I can persuade you. I can persuade you to feel like that. We have to be, we have to be aware
We have to live
of where we go.
in. But there are artists and creatives in every nook and cranny of this state and nation who feel just like you and I do. And it is really about finding your people.
Mm.
And the rural urban exchange is a really good way to find your people in those nooks and crannies. I have met very wonderful Kentuckians from all over the place who I know have my back at a moment's notice.
I love
So
that.
I'm not worried out here, but you don't know who I know. So
I love
get to know
that.
some cool people out here.
That's true. That is so
Mm-hmm.
very, very true. And that's the thing about it. Like I I know that we're talking about, West End because that's what's important.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's important. This is what's important to be able, what you guys do and what I did when I was part of the committee, what we did and what you guys do right now is empowering because it lets people, especially young people and even older people. I mean, like this is like an intergenerational thing, but it lets them know that they have an identity
Mm-hmm.
and it allows them to be able to see a portion of themselves that they didn't know exist. Because if I've always been told, I didn't want to go at this from a stereotypical perspective. But the thing is that I lived in the West for a portion of my life, and I've also, Mariel, we talked when we were younger, and I moved a whole lot. I went to a lot of different schools. I think my mother and I, we sat down, we calculated, I think I moved like 21 times. I went to like 9 different schools or something like that before college. So the thing of it is this. I also lived in the East End for a long time, Highlands, East End. And you're looking at like such a huge contrast between the East End and the West End, between all of the restaurants that's available. I grew up where there was restaurants, where there was gallerias, where there was the ballet. The headquarters for the Louisville Ballet was right over there in the East End. You go to the West End, it's almost like a desert. Those same opportunities are not there. That's why what you guys do, I guess like I'm shifting into encouragement because what you guys are doing is so important for the location where you're at. And I think sometimes we get deterred because we say about, this is for black artists and this is to be able to promote the history of the West End and the blacks who have grown up or, politically correct African Americans who have grown up in this area and who live in this area. But the reality is that if we don't promote it, who will?
Mm-hmm.
You know, go ahead.
It's happening here. I believe the West End has everything the West End needs already to thrive.
Yes.
Um, I think I posted on Instagram. I don't need anybody coming here telling me what I am or what I need to be. it is already here. And you find so many artists in the West End who need promotion, so many artists who
Yes.
don't know that they are artists yet, and so many dope people doing really dope things in the West
Dude,
End.
Louisville has so many creatives here. So many. I know that we're not, a big state like, or a big city like LA or New York or Chicago or something like that, or even in Florida, Texas. These are like, or Tennessee. Like, these are the names that we look at and that we hear as far as people coming out and doing this and that. You want to be like a political leader and go to Washington, D.C., right? You don't come up from Louisville. But the thing is that we have such phenomenal leaders in politics and acting and in creative endeavors
Mhm.
and music. And I'm not just talking about Harlow. Or, is his name Harlow?
Child.
Child. I'm not even gonna say his first name. I try not to say the first name. I am not trying to get hit with no suits or nothing like that. But you understand who I'm talking about. I don't listen to the music. Girl, I'm like a 60-year-old or 80-year-old. I don't know who this person is. He just came up out
Creativity
of
comes from suffering, I think, because you are trying
mm,
to find hope, right? So, in a state that is last in a lot of categories where we might not want to be last in a place where people want to have so much control over what happens to people, we are suffering here. That is why so much good and creative things are coming out of Kentucky right now. I am on
yes.
a lot of national calls and things, and people are always interested in Kentucky. We are prime for a renaissance here, and I really think
Yes.
that it's
My
happening.
husband has said that for the longest time. I'm gonna tell you, this conversation we're having right now, Mariel, is because of him. Because I was ready to, I'm not gonna lie, I was like ready to go. And he was just like, no. He said the exact words that you did.
Yeah, just wait on it. Wait on us. It is coming. It is coming.
Mm, mm. I love that. I love that. So I know that this conversation is a little bit longer. And we're about to wrap it up, but I do have a couple of things that
Okay.
I do want to say before we wrap up, okay? One would be when you talk about the granny's house, what came to my mind, what came to my spirit was Dia de Mortes, right? Because Dia de Mortes means so much to me. Prior to my husband and I meeting, I had set up this area of my space where I was living at. I had like this little corner with shelves, and I put up all the pictures of loved ones who had passed on, so that I could remember them. And I don't know why I can't really think of the name of it right now in Spanish, as far as what you call that, so that they could live on and be remembered. Right. So when you talk to me about Granny's house, that's what came to my spirit was because we can learn from each other. That's why I love diversity. I don't just love diversity because it's like I need to be able to see someone that's Asian and see someone that's Mexican and feel like, like self-gratified. I love learning from people. I love learning from other cultures because I feel like it's all different puzzle pieces that come together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, when you talked about Granny's house, that's what came to my spirit was Dia de Mortis, and I love that. Uh, when we talk about, what Louisville was like and the art of it, oh my God, 80s, 90s was awesome. For one thing, we had the Galleria.
Yeah.
Oh, why did and then when you said, because I do feel like we do need to do some things that, makes Louisville pop a little bit more than just being so small townish. But how can I say is about getting in trouble? I do feel that the removal of the Galleria was a mistake. Personally, I understand why they did it, but I don't agree with it.
Hmm. It was a place for people to gather and not just around drinking. And I'm afraid that we are becoming New Orleans for no shade to New
It's
Orleans, but I
no shame.
and we know that it's a good time and a party. That is good for that place. It's not who we are. I feel fear that we are becoming New Orleans for geriatrics, right?
Ooh.
Because we are AARP is heavy in Louisville, and they're building something that like this is for senior housing. And I mean, I'm going to be a senior soon. Yeah. And then we mix this with bourbonism. And I'm like, okay, we're always talking about this is a good place to retire. And and I said, oh, it's New Orleans for more seasoned people.
It is. It is. But when we talked about gentle, this is kind of like, coming back again. What do they call that in, what is that called in comedy, love? Whenever it comes back again, whenever you put like a joke at the very top and come back to it. Darren, help me, Darren.
A punch
What
like
is that called? What is that called? Like whenever you have like the joke at the very beginning, you carry it through the end. The joke at the very beginning, then you carry it to the end.
Callback.
The callback. There it goes. Oh, here we go. Thank you. I was like, give me a line here. Help me. So the callback of it, right? When we talk about gentrification, right? To me, that's what happened with the Galleria when it became the entity that it is now. And you guys can Google it because I'm not going to talk against it. I did not I personally have not had a very good experience at that new location at all. At all. But when it was the Galleria, it was welcoming for all people, no matter what part of Louisville that you came from or what part of Kentucky that you came from. There was something in there for you. And I enjoyed it. I personally enjoyed it. It was a part of my history, of who I am.
And we were there all the time because our school was down the street.
Yes. Yes. And even when I started college, because I was downtown, I was at Spalding. So I would and I had a job right over there, like where the spaghetti factory is, where Deke's, I used to work at Deke's restaurant. So I would go right through there and I would go to, I can't remember what store we had, and I grabbed a dress so I could have it because I was a hostess, and I would grab a dress, pay for it, and go right to work. And I'm sorry. I know I feel so old. I mean, I sound old, and I do feel old because I just miss the good times. I miss. That's what I miss. I miss that. But then when you talk about 80s, 90s art, sis, oh my gosh, we had such an explosion here of art between the galleries that we had. Between there's a photo of me in a newspaper when I was 9 or 10, and I was drawing on the ground with chalk at one of the art expositions that we had here. I remember traveling with, because I used to work with, Casito Cookies. So I used to work with them when I was really, really little. I used to put, before they did the labels like they do now with the printer, with the print. Do you remember when they just had the label on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was also me. I would put the label on there.
Yeah.
Yes, I would put a label on all these bags. I would get paid $1 for every 100 bags. I loved it. I was like a little machine. I was putting that label on there, had it straight in the center, and I was a little young entrepreneur just trying to do my own thing. And yeah, I would go to places with Elizabeth, because that's the owner of Casitos, and she would go to all these different art expositions to sell her cookies. She wore the cookies in her basket, on her head. Yeah. And it's just not the same. It hasn't been the same for a while.
I think Louisville, someone told me Louisville still has those weird things. You just have to know where to look. So let's explore, right? Some of our city a little more. I think that the West End Women's Collaborative is a hidden gem. People don't know that it exists. You got to just know where to look.
And that's why we're having this conversation, because you guys are a hidden gem, because you are empowering for women, you're empowering for the community, you're empowering for art in itself. How does that make you feel when we speak about that?
I think about the legacy of these 9 women.
Yes.
One being Joyce Wagner,
Mm.
who just recently passed away. Um,
Yes, I did see that. I'm sorry to
I
hear that.
think about preserving her genius, right? And these other 8 women who did so much for me in helping me find a way and my voice and my power. It makes me elated for my neighborhood. Um, I started this journey getting here because I wanted there to be murals in the West End, right? I still have not put
Mm.
up one mural. What you say, 6 years later? Has it been? Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it has.
Um, seems like longer, maybe 8 years. Maybe.
It's shorter than me. It does. But yeah.
I've done lots of extraordinary things that make my neighborhood as great to other people as it is to me. Um, oh, I think about all of our neighbors who I have had a chance to interact with. We go out and canvas for our events, and if you're hosting an event in the space, we will also canvas flyers to our neighbors for you.
I
Um,
love it.
and we're sitting on porches talking to people. And one woman in particular, she's in her 90s, and we would sit and
Oh,
talk to her all day. She would let us. And we're just learning so much about people and these stories, and that just it fuels all the things for me, and it makes me so happy, especially coming from a place I was at working at Humana and being miserable um every day,
yeah.
and being even a teenager at Brown and being miserable every day. I have so much joy in my life, so many good people around me now, so many wonderful and exciting things. And it's all because of the West End Women's Collaborative.
Mm. Sis, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Now, I do have a couple of things that I do want to say, and then we're going to close up. I could say so much because we're going to have another conversation. Are you cool with that?
Uh,
Yeah, we are. We are. We are. Because one, I want to do more about more surrounding, I guess I should say, more chats. There we go. More chats surrounding the amazing talents and artists and creatives that we have here in Louisville. Because we have so many, and I don't feel like we highlight that enough. It's not really seen because we are Louisville and we're like this little dot on the map. But yet, the talent and creatives are so big and so huge. And so I am wanting to do more in 2025 to highlight and spotlight what we do. Now, one of the things I want to speak about before so it's like three things that I want to talk about real quick before we leave. When you speak about, uh, and I'm so sorry, I think it's like a postpartum thing. I cannot remember her name all the way, and I know she's gonna get me. Miss
Elmer Lucille
Louise.
Allen, is that who you're
Elmer
talking?
Lucille,
Yeah,
Elmer Lucille Allen. Can we briefly speak about her? Miss Elmer, I'll write it down. She's gonna get me for not remembering. But real quick, and I'm thinking that when you said like in her 90s, that's who you're speaking of, and I could be wrong.
yeah,
Was that who
that's
you were
not
speaking of?
her.
Yes. Let me tell you guys, she's amazing. She's awesome. She was, and let me know if I'm right. She was the first Black female chemist
She was the
here
first
in Louisville.
black chemist to work at Brown Forman,
Come
male
on.
or female. So she was using chemistry to improve bourbon, and she's just been inducted into the Bourbon Hall of Fame
Just
recently.
now.
hmm So what you are tasting in your Old Forester, if you're
This is
drinking
one of my
that, uh,
favorite. Yeah, I'm not gonna get no shame. I like Old Forester.
that is all thanks to a black woman from
Yes.
Louisville named Elmer Lucille Allen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing, amazing. I love me. So Miss Elmer so we used to keep in touch through email. I need to email her. I haven't done it in a while. I haven't. Yeah, life has been a little bit busy now at 10, but soon after the twins were born, she came over here to visit and it gave them some clothes and stuff. She's truly a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And she's truly a sweetheart. And she's done so much for us to even, for you and I to even have this conversation right now.
She started Little League baseball in the West End for black kids too. Mhm.
What? I didn't know that.
She did.
Wow.
Probably back in the 60s, probably, yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
I miss her. I do. I miss her. I need to contact her. I really, really do. So I need to do that. I may actually, do you still have her email address?
Send it to you, yeah.
Please do. Please do. Because I'm like, if I try to like shuffle through, because I think the email address that I have is probably the same one, but it's connected to an email that's now shut down because I had too many emails in it. So I didn't check it. So, hey, it's life with 10 and it's really, really difficult. So that email account got shut down, and whenever I remember, I go into it and try to like delete stuff, but it doesn't happen all the time. So yes, if you could send it to me, I would appreciate it so I can contact her just to let her know I love her and check up on her because I do miss her. But okay, so that's one. So yes, yes, yes. I'm so glad you said that. She's amazing. She's phenomenal. And that's the thing is when you guys get involved with the West End Women's Louisville Collaborative. I was about to say chapter, but the collaborative, you are able to experience legends and icons that, regardless if you knew them before, you meet them now, and your life is forever changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, just so true. So real quick, before we leave, I have two things. One, I would like for us just to briefly chat about not fitting in, and then what people can do to help or get involved with the West End Women's Collaborative. So we talked about, and I hear you saying it again, about not fitting in. What was that like for you throughout high school? Well, yeah, high school and college to who you are now.
Oh, oh my. I think I was a holy terror. Um oh, I'm
I didn't
sorry.
see
I'm
that, but
just
but you know.
all for having to experience my lows. But um it was hard times. Glad we're through them. And I think that comes with finding your people and your voice and power because it was always there. And a lesson in letting people diminish that voice and power. You might know who diminished mine. I'm not going to say no names. Um, but you can't let people take that light from
That's
you.
true.
And when you do, like Alice Walker, reclaim your genius, collect it, and if necessary, bone by bone.
Yes. I agree.
Hmm.
I fully, fully agree. So when you talk about not, when you speak about not being true to yourself, but yet fitting in, and it looks amazing to everyone else. It looks like it flows for everyone else. Was this more of a mental struggle because you knew deep down that you were not really aligning with who you were,
Um,
or what was that
I
like?
think growing up and trying to assimilate into America um, is difficult, and being a part of mm, maybe a first generation where there is some economic mobility or at least a blueprint of what success is. For my family, that was college. My mother didn't go to
Yes.
college. um, my grandmother didn't go to college. Her parents didn't go to college. I believe my brother is our family's first college graduate, and he graduated from college, I think, in 1999, maybe when I
Oh
graduated
wow.
from high school. And this was a goal for my mother to get both of her children into and through
Mm.
college. That was what we thought was the best course of action. And also a pillar of what success was. I have an uncle and an aunt who worked at Ford and GE respectively, and they were successful too, but they even still were pushing us to be something different than what they were. My granny used to tell me all the time, "You need one of them sit down jobs." She was,
Yeah, I heard that too from my granddad.
"You're not gonna make it in no factory. You need to
My
sit
granddad
down
said-
somewhere and work on that computer." These
Yeah,
are deals of success for fitting into Black America. I think that's one. I mean, into America. Period. I think that's one reason why Black women are the most educated group of people in this country. I have friends with master's degrees and doctorates, right? Who are still living in poverty. So educational attainment is wonderful. It is great. It is the dream of many of our ancestors. Is it what liberates us? I don't think so. And so trying to fit into that and being an artist where if you're an artist, if you are an artist, and most of us are, we all are, and you are not creating something, you will go insane.
that's
So I had
true.
ideas in my mind all the time, and I was like, oh, I can't do that because I'm poor. Oh, I can't do that because I'm Black. Oh, I can't do that because I'm Southern. Oh, I can't do that because I'm a woman. This is what this country is teaching us, that all these things that you are, all the people who
Mhm.
made you, all the things that they are, that you can't because of who you are. And there's a different way. There are different measures of success. It does not have to be college. It also doesn't have to just be working in a factory. It
That's
can be
true.
a wide gamut of things. And I think that's what we need to start teaching people in general, not just children, people in general, that there are many paths to making a joyful life.
Sis, you just said so many things right there. And it really got my, my mental going. One of the things that I definitely thought about was recently I listened to Oprah and she was speaking to a young man who she gave an opportunity to as far as like working with her. And now he has his own, I guess, like podcast or talk show of something of that nature. And nonetheless, they were speaking and he was giving her flowers for being, a part of his life and what she's done on her journey. And during their conversation, he had stated that when she was with her, I think her grandmother was hanging the clothes on the line, and she was telling her, "You need to pay attention because you're going to be doing this too."
Mhm.
And that Oprah had this feeling within her that was just like, "No, I'm not, because I'm made for greater. I'm made for more." So part of it is us acknowledging that just because we're in a certain atmosphere, in a certain environment, and although our families did this and they, and our grandparents did this and our parents did that, that doesn't have to be our story.
Mhm.
That would be my first thing, and as far as complimenting what you were saying, and then also you're so right. You're so right that college is not as much. It hurts me to say this because we just recently had a conversation with our 16-year-old yesterday about college and what are his thoughts and what is he wanting to major in, and all those things. Are you wanting to go to in-person classes or online classes? What are your thoughts on that? And I do believe that college is still very important, and it's very important to fall back on a degree. Now, is that me speaking, or is that what I've been programmed to speak? Because my
No,
mother
I
spoke
think
over, my mom spoke over my crib like, "You're going to college. You're going to." I remember in sixth grade, sis, this little boy in sixth grade was like, he wrote me, and you remember when I used to write you a letter, and they would be like, "Will you go out with me?" And then you had like a little box, yes or no.
yeah.
And I wrote no. Which I'm glad I did because I wouldn't have my husband right now. But I was like, no, maybe we'd be together, but I would have went through some BS. Nonetheless, I'm like, and I put PS because I'm married to my books because my mama told me if anybody tries to approach you, let them know you're married to your books because you have to go to college. You're going to like you want to talk about hypnosis. Since she was like pounding that in, you're going to college, going to college. And I went to college and I literally picked 2 degrees out of a hat and went with it.
Okay.
And there's so many times, and like I told you, I went to, after graduating with my bachelor's and 2 bachelors, I went to U of L for social work. Then I went to Spalding for MFA in writing and teaching. Then I went to Campbellsville for my MFA, right? So I did all this, and I look back, and I'm like, how am I using this? How did it really benefit? And then you see so many different people who are working in daycares with the degree, working at McDonald's with a degree, and they're working in these different fields, and yet it's not really benefiting. It doesn't seem to
I think
benefit. But I,
college is a way and time, I think, for you to figure yourself out. You've got
yes,
4, maybe 8 years. I don't know how long it's going to take you to figure yourself out, but it is dedicated time for you to get to know you. And I wish we would approach it
I
in
agree.
that way instead of training people to work. It is
Mm,
time for self-exploration
you're
instead
right.
of, yeah.
You're right,
And I,
because it trains you to think like, once I graduate, the world is just going to open up for me. Like this path of success is automatic.
yeah. I think that's what my mother believed for us, and that's what the mentality I went into college with. I remember telling people, "Oh, I'm going to U of L," and they were like, "You can get any job you want." So when I graduated, I'm applying for any job I wanted. Was I getting
Yes.
the jobs? No. um,
And it's so true, but I love, so prior to us talking right now, I spoke about how technology is as far as us being able to connect, and what do you call it again, a callback, right? So I spoke about us being able to connect through, these virtual lines, and I love that when you look at these different apps of social media, be it Instagram or TikTok while it's still here, um, these different platforms, right? That people are able now to gain some type of financial. Do I want to use the word gain again? But like financial success
mhm.
without even having to go to college. So that
Which
speaks
was
different volumes.
the case. Like I talked about my aunt and uncle who worked at Ford and GE. They were still successful and they worked in factories. It's really dependent upon you
That's true.
and what your choice is to live your life with some peace first, and in finding some joy.
I agree. I agree. You saw, now you just stated earlier how you saw my mother's clothes and there was no stitch that had been, skipped over, a thread hanging out. And she didn't go to school for that. She did
Hmm.
not go to design school. She started at 12 or 11 sewing by hand, and she didn't finish college. And yet she was able to hold down her own shop in Detroit
Mm-hmm.
and in Louisville and have fashion shows and just, make a success out of herself from her own gifts and talents.
I remember this, I think it was like, maybe it was a dress or a two-piece set, and it was white and it had a black band at the chest level, and it kind
Mm-hmm.
of flowed out into like a A line. And
Right?
that's a bad dress right there. Wow. And I remember thinking in band once, I said, "Oh, I wonder if my mom will make me some clothes." And then I was too,
Please don't approach me. You
too
I
embarrassed.
mean, you can approach me now. I know her schedule's different, but yeah, we need to. She made me this one, and I have a picture of it on my Instagram. And I'm posed with my best friend Ali, and he passed away from cancer, so he's not here anymore. He was my friend through, oh my goodness, seventh, eighth grade, or yeah, seventh and eighth grade. I knew him, and then throughout high school, college, and he came to my wedding. Nonetheless, in this picture, we're posed together back to back. So I'm just trying to give you like a little history, so that when you see the picture, you'll know the cape that I have on, like this jacket or this like coat that I have on.
Mm-hmm.
She literally sold that cape slash coat from a Barbie. There's a line of Barbies from goodness, this designer Byron Lars, I want to say, and he has like 4 dolls. And there was a coat that he has that has like fur on the wrist, and I was just like, I want that. And without a pattern, she built the pattern herself and made it out of green velvet fabric with the brown fur. And fur used to get to her when she was sewing, like really like kick up her allergies.
Wow.
But yeah, she sewed it from a Barbie design. And I'm telling you, like I've seen multiple times where people would come in with their dolls and they would just be like, I want this, you know? And like this right here is one of my designs that I curated from what my mother, has blessed me
Wow.
to be able to do. But yeah, like they would come in and just be like, I have this doll and this is the design, or they would show her a picture and she would be able to look at it and somehow take their measurements and just transmute that thing into
Mm.
a full dress.
Genius.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really is. And that's why what you guys do, with the ELA house, which we're going to have a conversation one day about energy, because I want to explore that more, especially when you said about her going back to Nelson County, because you and I talked about that together, one-on-one, and I would love for us to be able to talk about energy, because you know how much I love soul, energy, and spirit. That's one of my things that I get off on. Just I enjoy it. Um, but I would love for us to talk about that if you're open to that.
Absolutely. Yes, that would be nice. I would really like that.
I'm so glad we were able to connect. Before we depart, what can people do to help, or I should say, and slash, or how can they get involved with the West End Women's Collaborative?
So to come to an event, just watch out on our socials. Facebook and Instagram are what we primarily use. But what we need help with right now is preserving our geniuses. So we are looking for monthly sustaining donors to invest in legacy. We're trying to get 60 monthly donors by the end of the second quarter of 2025. And your donations will pay for things like electricity in Ella House and someone to come and cut our grass, care and maintenance of our labyrinth, things like that. Being a nonprofit, we are constantly fundraising. And we do really good at Gift for Good Louisville, which is our only fundraiser of the year currently. This
Okay.
year we raised, I think, $16,000. And then we had a couple of offline donations that pushed us up to about $21,000 in one day. So we're trying to diversify our fundraising right now. You can become a monthly donor of WEWC by going to our website, WEWC for art. That's the number 4, WEWC4art.com. And there's a little pink donation button. You can click that and become a monthly donor. $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you choose. It'd be real cute and help us out a whole lot.
Yes. Yes. And I guess one of the things that we need to address is, why is this important? Why is it important for, if I'm a donor, if I'm like in the audience, I'm a donor, why is it important for me to donate?
It is important for a variety of reasons. It saves capacity of our volunteer board. We're not paying any staff. We are out hustling, writing letters, preparing for Give for Good Louisville to bring in donations. So it helps to save our mental and physical
Yeah.
capacity, because we do have other jobs that we are doing. And while we would like to do this full time, that's just not possible right now. Also, those dollars are going right back into the West End. Like I said, electricity, water. When we host people in our space, again, it is for free. And we're for free canvassing flyers for them. So that's what your dollars are going to. We also provide free coffee, tea, and snacks to anyone who comes into the space to use it. And then when we're there just co-working, we're making meals also. So it's groceries for us.
Yes.
It is really a community of care. So when we see kids walking home from school, we're running out like, "Hey, you want a popsicle?" Of course they do.
Mhm.
Um, when you're seeing us move throughout Kentucky and we're consulting with folks, that's what your donation is going for. We're doing a really cool project with some folks in Lexington. There's a big Mexican American community there, and they call it Mexington. And they are asking us how we are preserving legacy in our neighborhood so they can do the same thing in theirs. So this isn't just about Louisville. This is Commonwealth wide. And these investments of monthly donations really go a long way. And it helps keep everything free for folks. We don't want to charge people. Joy should not have a charge.
Oh, that's a good one. Joy should not have a charge. I am. Only charge should be energy, right? The charge that you get when you
Yes,
feel it. You know,
you
I should feel a charge inside of
have
me, but it shouldn't be a price. I love that. I love it. No,
to a source when you're on our grounds, and you can recharge and rejuvenate. Help keep that free for folks, by
yes.
sharing of your abundance, because that's what we're doing as volunteers. We are sharing of our free time and of our mental capacity, and we're doing that for free.
You know, one of the things I do want to close out on is this thought. Because I think that sometimes when we speak about nonprofit and when we speak about why your donations are important,
Mhm.
we still get met with so many people that are selfish and really go, well, I mean, how is this going to benefit me? But how many people love Marvel, the MCU, the Marvel comic universe? Because I know I do. I'm like a huge, I love DC. I love MCU a little bit more. Okay. I grew up reading it. I think I used to talk to you about comic books. I love comic books, right? Our kids do. But I bring this up because of Black Panther.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
waited for years. We waited for years for Black Panther to come. We sat in the seats silently with eagerness when it was Thor and when it was Iron Man. Iron Man was the kickoff. And then when it was Captain America. And then they said Black Panther. And it was like, oh my God, right? And I think about these two kids that had cancer. And, and you have Chadwick Boseman
Mhm.
that's like, he himself had cancer and we didn't even know. We didn't even know. His own crewmates really didn't even know. And you have Ryan Coogler, who has worked one-on-one with Michael B. Jordan and other projects, and he's directing this film. And you have people of all different races, all different complexions, all different creeds, who have waited for Black Panther to come out because they've read the comic book. You know what I mean? And now we're going to see this in live action. And you had these two children who have cancer who are waiting for so long to be able to see it. And unfortunately, they didn't get a chance to see the full film because the soundtrack wasn't completed. Things happen. But yet they were eager. And I feel that in their heart, just knowing that this was going to take place. I'm not them. I wasn't there when it happened. It had to give them some type of joy. You know, Chadwick Boseman read the letter that they had wrote, stating that they were holding on so they could see this film. Why is this important? Because there's some kid that's in the West End that has director skills like Ryan Coogler, that has acting skills like Michael B. Jordan, that has the charisma and the moral concept and acting skills of Chadwick Boseman. And without them, we wouldn't have a Black Panther. And you don't know who gets affected by it, who says that I'm going to hold on living so that I can see this film. To us, we go, it's just a film. You know what I mean? It's an action film and it's fun and it's this and that. But to someone else, it's a reason to live the next day because I know that it's going to come out and I want to see it and it's inspirational. And that's what we look for is inspiration and hope. And that's what I feel when we talk about the West End Women's Collaborative. Is that it is a place of hope. It is a place of identity. That it is a place of nurturing the next Ryan Coogler, the next Chadwick Boseman, the next Michael B. Jordan, and the women that were in the cast, Angela Bassett. That this is the place where that gets nurtured. That we wouldn't have Black Panther without there being some type of facility in their community to nurture who they are right now.
Girl, I'm going to put you on our fundraising campaign.
I'm there for it. I'm there for it.
Because you said that was a word. And anything. Yes. Yes. Don't make me talk no more. I'm ready to go. You done said it all. Good night and God bless you.
God bless you too, sis. But we do need to talk again. We need to have a chat again. Let's talk about energy and anything that I can do as far as,
Let's just
helping out with the West End.
Let's just hang out and kick it together.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna bring my doll probably. Now you know that.
Right? Play with the dolls. So yes, let's invite me.
Girl, we were 9th grade. I was still playing with dolls. I don't know if you remember. I'm not gonna name which sis it was. I'm not gonna name her out because we were all in band together, and I would be like, "Hey, we gonna play today?" Because we were too old supposedly to be playing. I was like, "We're gonna
meet your children."
Yes, you got to.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do
that soon.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you.
It's so good to connect with you. So yes, we're going to plan on that. Thank you guys for being with us today. Any questions or comments that you have, definitely send those in through DM. And we appreciate you. Check out the West End Women's Louisville Collaborative. Even if you live out of town, you can still get involved. You can still donate. You can still participate. Who knows? You may be in the Louisville area where you're able to join in with the sessions that they have for the studio, for the open studio. So thank you again. I'm looking forward to being able to speak to you again in the future.
Bye.
Love you, sis. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.